Hi. Thank you for attending today's reading. Let's begin. Ideas for Son's Bedtime Stories. About our neighbor being in crazy predicaments. I don't know how it started, but our 78-year-old neighbor Sal has become quite the character in our house. I exaggerate his quirks by calling my son with these ridiculous issues he's having. My, Sal, voice is loud and has a heavy Bronx accent. It starts with CHRISTOPHA. I need your help, there is an emergency, and my son says, "What's the problem now, Sal?" And I'm running dry on ideas. Every mechanical issue has gone wrong on his car and his lawnmower. His pipes have burst, he forgot the tub was running and the house was consumed by bubbles. He lost his wife Kathy. Found her in the recycling bin after she fell in when she dropped something in it and tried to get it. He thought his hose was a snake when he didn't have his glasses on. Cakes. He's always having cake and tripping and falling into it. Ideally they have a tad of ridiculousness, but I'll take anything. This kid wants 3 of these stories a night. End of story. Next story. 5th grade me accused of being a school shooter. This story is a little fuzzy, but I want to tell it. So back in 5th grade you could say I was a little more interested in guns than the average 5th grader. Some of my friends knew about my interest. This will be important later. The story starts at the end of the day. Me and my classmates were packing up to go home. And one of them, who sat next to me and was a close friend of mine, was joking around and grabbing stuff from my desk. This continued for a few minutes until my friend decided to knock over my desk, spilling all of its contents onto the floor. I am laughing and start picking up. This is the critical moment where things go south. I finished picking up all the books and folders that fell out of my desk, and stand up and say to my friend in whisper, "I'm gonna kill you." Since I had just been picking up, I didn't realize that my teacher was standing no more than 3 feet from me and my friend. As soon as I finish the sentence, my teacher abruptly turns around and yells to me, "What did you say?" Quote. At this point the whole class is staring at me. And so I said in a shaky voice, "Nothing. I was one of the kids that always behaved and never got in trouble. So preserving my reputation was important to me." The teacher at first seems to let off and we all went home. It was a few days and nothing else was being said about the incident. So I assumed I was off the hook. Boy, was I wrong. In the middle of class the principal comes in and asks for me to come with her. I of course follow and she asks me about what I said. And I started to panic inside. We get to the office and she has me go into her office and sit down. She asks me why I said that. And stupid me, being too panicked to react, say it was just a joke. I never calmed down enough to explain why I made the joke. I am crying at this point and am still trying to explain why I said what I did. This is where they go too far. The counselors come in and start explaining how they interviewed all of my friends to see if I was a violent person. They said my friends heard me talking about pistols at lunch and how bullets work. I later learned that they all actually said I was a very calm and gentle person. But in the moment I got even more upset and thought all my friends had turned on me. By this point I was beyond being able to defend myself, in tears. Now the next thing they did still makes me emotional till this day. One of the counselors asks me if I had any guns at home. And before I can even answer she asks, "Would you ever consider bringing it to school?" Quote. I said no. But at the time I didn't know that the question really was, "Would you ever come to school and kill people with a gun?" Quote. It was later that night when I realized what the question actually meant and I could not handle it. I cried a lot and was very flustered the next few days at school. I was worried my friends were scared of me. At the time I didn't know I was being emotionally abused by the principal. My mom and dad saw my stance on the matter, but I still couldn't explain exactly why I said what I did. A few months after things had cooled down, and we were reading a book in class, and for some reason the teacher brought up school violence. My heart stopped for a second. When we were leaving school, a girl in my class came up to me and asked, "Were you the one who said you would kill people?" Quote, "The matter was never brought up again. But that last exchange really hurt me a lot. My sister still goes to that school, and every time I am in the car with my dad I see the principal out directing traffic in front of the school, and I come close to tears. Every time someone brings it up I say all the things I should have told my teacher, my parents, and the principal way back in 5th grade. End of story." Next story. My cat pooped in the toilet this morning. I was cleaning my cat's litter and I hear my cat pee in the bath. I shouted at him and cleaned it right after. Then I hear some noise. Then I look over at the toilet and see my cat sitting with his legs open over the toilet and taking a big fat shit in the toilet. I was amused. I never taught him to do this. He just learned by watching us. My mind is blown. End of story. Next story. I didn't know it was abuse. I was in 10th grade. It was Ashley's 16th birthday. The party was at a hall, decorated with streamers, balloons and a happy birthday banner. Late 90s hits played while we ate pizza. Most of the table hit the dance floor. One of my close friends, Mike, brought me an orange soda. I was dressed in a white Metallica shirt, wide-leg jeans with a wallet chain, black eyeliner, dark lipstick. Mike was acting different. He kept trying to talk to me. Alone. We had always been a group of 10 close friends. There were 7 girls and 3 guys in our group. Mike asked me out that night. It was near the end of the party. I was so excited and flattered. Over the next few weeks, things were wonderful with Mike. He loved to buy me gifts. Then I realized he had a temper in biology. He had said something and I laughed and made a joke. His eyes went ice cold. He leaned in and said, "I gotta tell you something." Then he spit in my face. I was humiliated, disgusted and horrified. Yet I was so stupid. I stayed with him for 4 years. The next week, he gave me a dozen roses. A beautiful handwritten card. "I'm so sorry, Starla. I never meant to hurt you," he said over the phone on a Monday night. "Please forgive me. I love you." It was the first time he had said it. I don't know why, but then I was on a crazy roller coaster of emotions. I began to recognize his icy expression when someone said something he didn't like. His anger made my anxiety go through the roof. Over time, I learned to avoid triggering his anger, which often lead to violent outbursts. But not all the time. We were 17 and drinking at a party. I was more drunk and feeling free, and I told him I had lied to him. For context, I wasn't allowed to hang out with guys without his knowledge and approval. A week prior to the party, I had been at my cousin's house. Without adults and guys were there. I lied to Mike so he wouldn't get mad at me. The guys in question were my cousin's boyfriend and his brother. We played cards all night. In my drunken state at the party in the middle of nowhere at my aunt's house, I told Mike, "There was guys there last week." His eyes went from warm and loving to cold. I was drunk so I didn't notice. I said, "Nothing happened. We played cards." As I said, "Cards." He shoved me into a bedroom and onto the bed. I let out a surprised groan. My heart started pounding as he screamed at me. The music was loud and most of my friends were drunk. My cousin noticed what happened and talked to my mom. I was angry, but he just wanted to help me. These are only 2 accounts of the abuse I suffered from dating Mike. He was so controlling and I didn't know it wasn't okay. He would do something terrible one week, then the next week he'd buy me flowers and teddy bears, tickets to sports games, movies, and concerts. I was impressed with his generosity. I'm lucky I made it out of that relationship. I'm working on healthy relationships in all aspects of my life. I didn't know Mike was abusive. I blamed myself for most of his outbursts. It was a vicious cycle and toxic. I haven't seen Mike in years and I'm fine with that. Love isn't supposed to hurt. I know that now. End of story. That is all for today. If you want to support my automated channel, feel free to drop a like and subscribe. See you tomorrow.